So how do you start collecting, well, pretty much anything? We'll do the long answer, we'll do the short answer, and I'll try and give some tips. This is an interesting question because I feel like it's pretty simple in that you just walk into a shop and start buying things. If you've got the cash, you can do nearly anything in life. But yeah. Shout out to this dude for the question. But before we, jump into this, let's go see the dog. The dog always loves being in the videos. Hello. Hello. Do you want to say hello to the camera? She wants to say hello to the camera. Ruby, you can't lick the camera. You'll smudge it. Now you're just performing. I've not even asked you I've not even told you what to do to get this treat. Down. Paw. Hang on. Paw. I didn't even ask for both. Belly rubs. Belly rubs. Come on, belly rubs. Fine, you can have the treat first. Silly dog. Somebody asked me how old Ruby is in part of the Q&A. Ruby turned 1 a few weeks ago. And she's very small. She weighs about 4.5 kilos. Don't jump off there. Use your ramp. Little stoops. And she's very stupid. Somebody says, does she have separation anxiety? Yes and no. It can depend upon the room. This room, for example, she's a bit weird over. So, for example, she does not like change in here. Like, if I'm sat on the sofa in here with her and I leave the room, she'll kick off. But I can leave any other room and she'll be just fine. It's this room in particular she's, like, defensive of. Like, say my partner is in here with her overnight and I'm upstairs and I come down, she'll start barking at me. Or if it was the inverse where I'm in here and my partner comes down, she'll start barking at her. But yeah, her biggest problem at the minute is that she doesn't like men she's never met. For example, yesterday we had the door doctor round to try to fix our PVC doors, and because they just weren't sealing properly. And she goes mental. Meanwhile, I had one of my other friends come over, and because that was a girl, she didn't kick off. There's only 2 men in Ruby's life, you see, because of me being fatherless. It's me and my partner's stepdad, so she's not really had much to do with men. Have you, Rubes? What are you doing? Ruby, I'm going to have to censor this video if you don't shut your legs. She loves rolling around in the crack of the sofa over there. She lives a life. She's got that double income parent, no children life, dink. And yeah, no paw. I asked for a paw, not for you to lick my hand. Right, let's take you out for a wee and then I can go actually, do the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the Ruby segment for today. Alright, so how do you get into collecting? First thing to understand about collecting is you are allowed to do it in any way that you want, no matter what the internet tries to tell you. When you're collecting and you never share it, you never even have to consider this, but I think it's been wild, the amount of, I follow other collectors and I see some of my own comments sometimes, and I think it's crazy, the amount of people that try to tell you how you can do things. It's mental. It's crazy. So understand, first of all, you are allowed to spend your money on anything you want and do it in any which way you so choose. Collect whatever you like. Generally, when you're first starting, you'll probably aim at whatever's cheapest because you can get more of them. So for example, when I first started collecting, it was DVDs. I feel like my DVD collection has come up in a lot of videos recently, but when I first started collecting, I was still working at Tesco. I didn't earn very much money, but I really wanted a lot of films because I always loved... I love standing in front of them. I have distinct memories of when I was a kid. I had a lot of the Scooby-Doo films on VHS, and I would just stare at the front covers and think it was really, really awesome. So sometimes I'd just stand in front of my wall of DVDs now and just look at the front covers for things because it reminds me of nostalgic times. And DVDs used to be dirt cheap at CX. They're still pretty dirt cheap now, but they used to be 50p. Like, the majority of DVDs, except for your big blockbuster stuff, were generally 50p. So if I just grab a random one and hope that... That one hasn't even got a sticker on. Alright, let me grab something else. Gladiator. No, Christ. I'm trying to guess one that's got a sticker on. Right, the Bourne films. These are going to be dirt cheap. There you go. So that was 50p back then. They then, at some point, got rid of the 50p category, and now everything is £1. But even Blu-rays are getting way cheaper now, so there's that. So it depends. Do you want to collect DVDs and games, trading cards? Well, what do you want to collect? Consoles? Some people collect consoles. People that collect consoles have got way too much space and way too much money, but you do you. One thing you're going to want to consider is space requirements and the way you're going to display them. So a lot of people use Billy bookcases. That's what these are. They're from IKEA. You get varying heights and widths and such. Generally, on one of these, it's about 51 games or so, left to right, regardless of platform, with exceptions being when you've got stuff like these weird shaped collections and such. One consideration is, though, is if we come down here, these shelves are often way, way deeper than they need to be to display the games front-facing the way that you might want. So different people have got different methods to get around that. My favourite method is I got a plank of wood cut to the exact length and depth so that I can just slide stuff in and slide stuff out. And I've got one of those planks of wood on every single shelf in this room, whether it be the Billies over there, the DVD Billies. There's one on literally all of them. Another consideration for when buying your storage, by the way, is usually these Billy bookcases don't come with enough shelves by default. Every time I've bought a Billy bookcase, I've had to buy extra shelves to get it to look like this. Otherwise, it's just a lot more spread thin and sparse. And if you're wondering, that is also from IKEA. The pegboard, I think it's called a SCARDIS. All of the attachments are also from IKEA, so yeah. If you're feeling overwhelmed by collecting, something that you could do is create a note on your phone of stuff that you actually want to play and start buying those. Narrow it down a little bit first. Maybe you go, right, PlayStation 2 stuff first. Make yourself a list of PlayStation 2 stuff you want. When the list gets exhausted, add some more. Maybe expand out to other generations. As a collector who sort of half collects for a living now, a consideration that I have to have is that I always have to be finding more stuff. Realistically, my normal lists expired a long time ago in terms of stuff that I actually was desperately wanting. Now it's like I keep reinventing the wheel in terms of what else can I get. So recently I've started getting more DS stuff because I think that's cool now. Would I have gotten DS stuff if I wasn't filming? I don't know. It's interesting when you live this life, things change. That's the thing with collecting, is you'll move the goalposts. Like, a collector's job is never done, as they say, as I'm sure someone at some point has said. I knocked a poster yesterday and now it's wonky. That's really going to annoy me. I'm going to have to fix that right now. I made an adjustment to my office yesterday where I've put in an extra HDMI splitter. So now all of my consoles can output either to that TV or this TV. So now everything is mirrored on both, so it doesn't matter where I sit, I can play it on either. Because I've been playing Black Ops 6, and playing an online Call of Duty these days is difficult enough, but trying to play it on a 77-inch TV, yeah, that's less fun. Next up is narrow down where you're going to buy stuff from. Here's your options generally. So you've got CEX, you've got eBay, those are your two big ones. Then you've got the equivalents where you've got like Vinted. There's also... And these are a bit more hit and miss. It's all down to preference at the end of the day. I'm impatient. I like knowing exactly what I want and going and getting it. I don't like leaving things up to chance. That's why I love CEX, because what I can do is I can look on CEX's website, look at what is in stock where, and drive and get it. Whereas things like, I don't know, cash converters or charity shops, car boot sales, game markets, independent stores, while these are all options that you have, I like the simplicity of search the stock checker from my office, find out where things are, and physically go and get it. That's a big peace of mind for me. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, that's probably a good shout for you. Whereas something to consider is, especially if you're just beginning collecting, is there will already be other collectors doing the do. And when it comes to things like car boot sales and charity shops and all of that sort of thing, I promise you that there are people that know the people that are going to put them out. They know what times they go out. There are people that are very, very into this. But here's something that I would do if I'm like looking for games to put on my list, because sometimes you just don't even know what's out there. I'll go to a random game category, so PlayStation 4 games, right? And then I'll go relevance, and then what? I'll just change the rating. So like maybe if you're just starting, you go price low to high, and then what can you get for the cheapest possible price? And there are games in here that cost a few quid, you know. You got loads of options. Maybe something you do is you choose a store over here and you limit the search so that you can specifically see the stores near you. Maybe you just walk in and start looking. The earlier days is when everything's great fun, because the early days you can just walk in and come out with a stack of games, whereas once you've got most of the stuff you want, typically you end up getting less and less stuff, and the stuff that you do get generally trends in the more expensive direction. But you got a lot of options. But I have sat here before, literally scrolling through every single game that CX has got listed for just about every single console, and I do that to continually fill up my list. And then somehow, some way, things still keep popping up after the fact where I'm like, oh yeah, there's that too. Oh yeah, there's that too. Like, maybe at some point I'll buy Fallout 76 just to complete my Fallout collection, even though, is it really a very good game? No, probably not. I need Borderlands 3, but I should probably get the PlayStation 5 version because it probably comes with all the DLC. In fact, does it? So here's the exact thought process. I will go on random tangents like this where sometimes I talk to myself because, I spend a lot of time in here and, that sort of thing happens. So I go Borderlands, and then let's check. Does the PlayStation 5 version come with all of its DLC? There's a lot more listings for Borderlands than I thought there would be. Right, Borderlands 3 Ultimate Edition, no DLC. That's annoying. Okay, so next up, when you've got something like this, check Amazon. I won't show you Amazon because Amazon has addresses listed all over it, but I'll be back in a second. I'm going to check because I'm actually curious about this. So just like that, I've just spent £40 on Amazon because I've gotten 2 games. Those will arrive at some point tomorrow. One of them is an American import, but it's in the UK, which is weird for a game that doesn't actually have a UK release physically. But it's on the way now, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's how simple this is. Just right now, I've just ordered 2 more games. This is what you'll do. Is the list is never ending. And yeah. Okay, and before we go, let's answer this one from Henrik. It's been a while since I've done a gym or weight loss related topic on here. For those that don't know, I got my start in social media through fitness. I have just shy of 500,000 followers in the fitness world. I was a personal trainer, and then I just sort of transitioned into gaming, collecting, social media. I do a lot of different stuff on the internet, and weight loss has always been my specialty. I've lost a lot of weight several times in my life, most of the time purposefully. For example, in the last 8 weeks, I've lost 10 kilos, or about 22 pounds for those in America. Basically, weight loss is a very simple thing. It's just that people get emotional about it. I'm very data driven. I'm very numerically driven. I try to detach emotion from as many different things as I possibly can. When you are goal driven, when you want something, being emotional about the things that get you to that thing are often not a logical place to be. So, when it comes to weight loss, the thing that you need to understand is it is calories in versus calories out. If you consume less calories than you currently need to be your current weight, you will lose weight. Now, how do you find that number? Well, it's going to be some trial and error because no one, not even calorie calculators, can tell you how many calories you need. So step 1 is use a calorie calculator. That will give you an estimate. It's just an estimate. You then will go away and for a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks, you will eat that calorie estimate. Now, you're not going to eat that calorie estimate very accurately because if you've never tracked your calories before, you're just not going to be. Calorie tracking in and of itself is a skill for you to learn. But as with any other skill, as you practice, you will get better at it. The amount of people that think that they're eating less calories than they actually are because they're not tracking accurately, because they're not accounting for every time they go downstairs, say hello to the dog and put something in their mouth out the fridge, or the extra things that they put on their food through butter and cooking oils and things like that. Or they will track their calories pretty accurately Monday to Friday, and then over the weekend absolutely blow their calories out of the water thinking that it wasn't that bad, and it really was. Like, I know people in my personal life who, a bit of a problem one of them has is that they will try to eat out at exclusively places that have the calories on the menu thinking that it's going to be 100% accurate every time, and it won't be. It could be a few hundred calories either side of it. Now, granted, you can make these things fit if your calorie deficit through the week is big enough. That's called calorie banking, by the way, where you save calories through the week to spend on the weekend. It's a reasonable method. Provided over time you are in a deficit, you will lose weight. If you are in a deficit the majority of the time, you will lose weight. The amount of weight you lose and the speed at which you lose it is determined by the size of your calorie deficit. I don't tell people the amount of calories that I eat when I'm in a calorie deficit because it is detrimental for you to hear that, because you won't stick to it. It'll ruin your day. It will ruin. You just won't feel good. Especially when I spend an hour on my exercise bike every day as well. The reason that I'm able to lose 10 kilos in 8 weeks is because I will do it quickly, because I can do it quickly. It's a skill that you have to pick up. Generally, if you're losing weight for the first time, if you're somebody that needs to ask for weight loss help, you're best off doing it slower and steadier because you're more likely to actually keep it off. As a gym bro, I will bulk and cut intentionally. as a gym bro, the goal is when you're trying to build muscle, you want to bulk slow and cut fast. So right now, I weigh so little that it's actually annoying. Like, I'll throw up a picture somewhere of what I look like at this weight, but you would never guess it. And so say I currently weigh 100, I weighed 159.5 pounds this morning, which is like 72.5 kilos. It is like next to nothing. For anybody wondering how that's impacted strength, it hasn't, because I've only been dieting for about 8 weeks and I just will not let it. Emotions over feelings, data over feelings. I can still bench 100 kilos for 10 reps despite the fact that I only weigh 72 kilos, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, building muscle is a long, slow process. You will gain some amount of fat in your pursuit of building muscle. It happens to everybody. But for example, okay, let me tell you a bit of a story here. So when we moved into this house, I got pretty fat. I got to nearly 100 kilos. I was nearly 220 pounds or so. And that was not a good look. Like, you got to remember that the number that you see on the scale isn't representative of how you look, because it's just a representation of you as a person. So, like, for example, two people can be 200 pounds but look dramatically different because one has more muscle or less fat. You see what I mean? So, for example, the next time I am 200 pounds, I would hope for it to look dramatically different. I would have way less fat and way more muscle, so I would look better at that weight. But the last time I was 220 pounds, at 5'9", by the way, so I'm 60 pounds lighter than that now, so like 28 kilos or so lighter or something like that. When we were getting in this house, the reason I got that fat in the first place was because getting in this house was very stressful. I stopped tracking my calories and I started emotionally eating, which is very unlike me. But we had a lot of drama getting in this house. We didn't know that we were getting in the house until the day we got in the house, basically. We were handed the keys, completed, exchanged, all on the same day, and didn't find out we were doing that until the day it happened, because just things were not going well. To make it end up happening, I had to go to the seller's solicitor and tell them to stop dicking about, because we knew that we were only a few steps away from done and they just needed to send a few emails. They told me to leave, but the next day we got the keys. So as far as I'm concerned, me throwing a hissy that day worked. Anyway, we got in the house, and then once I no longer lived with my mom, I was able to take more control over the food that I was eating better. And it was time to lose some weight. So between February and July of last year, so February 2024 to July 2024, I went from 218 pounds or so down to 116 pounds. I lost about 27 kilos. And then I began a slow bulk back up. So from July until what? How long have I been dieting now? About 8 weeks. Okay, so here's one for you. So from July of last year until about August of this year, I only put on about 18 pounds of that. So 18 pounds back up. I was still pretty lean. I still had an outline of abs. So I put on barely anything. But most of it was muscle, because I went so slowly, because you want to bulk slowly. And then we went on holiday about 2 months ago, and I put on a bit of chub then, because I ate just whatever I wanted to eat when I go on holiday, as you should, by the way. We only get one life. Live your life. We'll touch upon that. I don't want to confuse you. And I came back and I weighed 183 pounds. So I put on like 6 pounds while we were away. And I knew that over Christmas I was likely to gain some weight as well, because over Christmas, you're likely to gain some weight. It's bloody Christmas, and you're human, so expect it. So I was like, right, for the next 8 weeks, I'll diet, I'll lose a ton of weight, and then I'll have the wiggle room for a slow bulk back up. Yeah, so this is how this works. Every time my weight goes back up, I will have more muscle than last time and less body fat than last time at that weight. That's why I end up having to lose weight over and over again. It's not the same amount of fat that I'm having to lose each time, and that's why I can do it so quickly, because to me it's just a numbers game. I know that if I eat X amount of calories, my weight will drop by X amount each day until I am at the goal in X amount of time. When you're brand new to this, skill number 1 is learning how to track your calories first and foremost. Second, it's finding an amount of calories that gets the scale ticking down. A big weight loss tip for you is, when it comes to what you actually eat day to day, you're going to be wanting to try to eat things that actually fill you up. People say consume a lot of protein, because protein is the most filling macronutrient. It's the one that helps you build some muscle. It's the one that keeps you fuller for longer. It keeps you fuller for longer because it takes longer to digest. And because it takes longer to digest, it'll be longer before you're hungrier again. Nobody ever really got fat trying to eat protein, you know? But if you eat too much calories, you will still get fat, even if it's from protein. So there's 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of carbs, and about 9 calories per gram of fat. It's why it's so much easier to overeat, via eating fat than it is any of the other macronutrients. But anyway, you don't even need to be concerned about macronutrients if your goal is weight loss. Simply be concerned with hitting an amount of calories and hitting an amount of protein. Those are the two things that you can just be concerned about straight away. Now, this is the objective part, and this is where people really struggle emotionally, is if your weight is not moving down, you are not in a calorie deficit. A calorie deficit means to be consuming less calories than you need to stay your current body weight. If you are in a calorie deficit, you are losing weight. If you are not losing weight, you are not in a calorie deficit. The amount of times that fitness professionals will hear somebody say, I was in a calorie deficit, it didn't work for me, I didn't lose weight. No, you were eating more calories than you thought you were. Sorry, that's the truth. People are notoriously bad at tracking their calories. It's just a thing. You just have to learn how. Like, I can track my calories pretty accurately because I've been doing this for over 10 years. I don't actually track my calories all that religiously anymore. To a lot of people, tracking your calories sounds like pulling fingernails, I know, but see it this way. Tracking your calories, learning how calories works, and learning how to actually control your body weight empowers you for the rest of your life. If you know that it's okay for you to put on a bit of fat over Christmas because you're going to overeat because it's Christmas and that's what humans do, you will not be stressed out about that because you know it'll only take you a few weeks of self-control again to get it back down. If you understand that it is calories in, calories out, and you understand your body and your caloric needs, and you understand how many calories are in the things that you're eating, because here's the thing, right, is I don't need to track the calories that I eat anymore, not really, because I know the calories in pretty much everything that I'm eating, you know? If I'm dieting very strictly like I am right now, I will be a lot more mentally present with it, where like I will make sure that I'm not overeating from like empty calories, like cooking oils and butter and stuff like that. But generally, I don't need to track my calories anymore because I just know what calories are in things. And it gives me the power to control my body weight at any given point. If I get a little bit fat because I lived life a little bit too hard, I can fix that in 2 months. You have the ability to change your life at any given time. If you are somebody that needs to lose some weight, you are 2 months away from being a completely different person if you choose to put your foot down and do it. It's calories in, calories out. Be non-emotional about numbers. See, here's what I say about being non-emotional about numbers. The most accurate way of finding out whether you are in a calorie deficit or not is to weigh yourself every single day in the same situation. Wake up, wear nothing, go to the toilet, do not drink yet, step on the scale. Write down that number somewhere. I use an app called Happy Scale. Then forget about it. Go about your day. Track your calories. Then rinse and repeat this. If you're tracking your calories and tracking your weight, those are the two different data sets that you need to decide what to do next. If your body weight is not moving down, you have got two choices. You either eat less calories or you move more to expend more calories. That is the gist of it. That is all that you need to know. It's just a case of finding an amount of calories that works for you. Because again, here's the part where people struggle, especially with the weighing yourself frequently thing. The reason that weighing yourself once per week is generally not a good idea is because the number on the scale is representative of so much more than just how much fat you have on you, that it will not always trend in the direction that you want. Okay, here's a good example. I know tomorrow I'm going to wake up heavier because tonight I'm eating a much larger volume meal. It's still going to fit within my calories. I'm still going to be within a calorie deficit. I will still be losing body fat, but the number on the scale tomorrow morning is going to be higher because the meal that I'm eating today is physically a larger meal than my normal meals have been. It's going to be double the calories, but I've saved calories through the day to allot for that later on. It's also going to be about double the amount of carbohydrates that I would normally have. And for every gram of carbohydrates you eat, I think you hold on to it's 6 grams of water or something like that. Basically, you know how people go low carb and they lose all this weight really quick? They're losing water weight. It's because carbs hold on to water. But again, you're trying to lose body fat, not water. The number on the scale only matters if it's representative of you losing fat, which is why we weigh more frequently, because weighing more frequently lets you see these trends. I know that after this meal tonight, my scale will bump up, but then I know that in the next couple of days of returning to my normal calorie volumes, not calorie amounts, volumes, that it will come down. So there's another weight loss tip, is generally you want to eat foods that are higher volume for lower calories. So that way you physically feel like you are eating more food. This is why theoretically you can lose weight eating exclusively McDonald's. You could, but you wouldn't be able to eat very much McDonald's for the amount of calories you're eating. If you're eating 1,800 calories, that isn't going very far at McDonald's versus how far it would go via Whole Foods. Do you see what I mean? And you will feel more full eating the Whole Foods because you'll be eating more frequently and it'll take longer to digest versus eating the McDonald's where you're eating less frequently and less individual amounts of food. But once you have this understanding of calories, you don't have to do one or the other all the time. You can have that magical word that the internet doesn't love, moderation. where you can do the higher calorie meals and make them fit and still get towards where you want to be. But the problem is that the majority of people, what will happen is they don't understand that the number on the scale is going to move up and down in response to their day-to-day stuff that isn't just body fat. They'll have that higher volume meal like I'm having tonight. They'll see the spike on the scale tomorrow and they'll get stressed out and then they'll binge or something like that. And then the binging is what actually does ruin the actual fat loss. Whereas if they just stayed the course and stuck with it, knowing why it did that and being empowered by that and knowing that that was why that happened, that they'd get where they want to be. And then what you do via weighing in more frequently is you'll be able to see through these fluctuations. You'll be able to spot when you have spikes up. And then you'll be able to sit there and think, what did I do the night before that would have caused that spike? And then you'll be able to logically make that decision. The more logical you can be and less emotional you can be, the more empowered for life you are. There will never be a time in my life where I am ever going to be stressed out about my body weight ever again, because I will forever have the power to lose that fat if I had to. So I will just simply not stress. As a human, our lives change month to month. Christmas is a period of time where the majority of us move less, drink and eat more. So a lot of us gain weight. It's cold outside, we do less movement, we burn less calories. It's just a case of humans generally put on weight over Christmas, and that is absolutely fine. These fitness professionals, and bearing in mind I was a fitness professional, that tell you that you should try and stay the same weight year round are full of it, because that's just unreasonable for most people. Instead, what makes more sense is have an acceptable amount of weight that you are happy to shift around within. Say, for example, I wasn't a gym bro as much as I am and didn't have this pursuit of more all the time. I'd be pretty happy sitting between 170 and 180 pounds. And anytime I crossed over that 180 pound mark, come Christmas, come birthdays, whatever, maybe then I would just quickly have a little bit of a pullback where I'd pull myself back down to 170, and then it'll take me 6 months before I've got to be concerned about that again. Have an acceptable weight range that you sit within, and you will often be mentally a lot happier versus attempting to see the same number on the scale every day. I really hope that this is helpful and motivating to somebody, because I promise you, you are months away from being a completely different person. I spent my entire life the fat kid until I was 16 years old, and I went to a college where nobody knew me, and over the course of that summer after high school, I lost so much weight. I weighed 60 kilos before I went to college. It was wild. And remember, a year and a half ago, I weighed 100 kilos. So I have been every weight, every body fat percentage under the planet. Right now, I'm about as lean as I've ever been. It's wild. Right now, this morning, at 159.5 pounds, that was the lightest I've been as an adult. As an adult. I'm the most muscular I've been. I'm the leanest I've been. You just need to learn the calories in, calories out. Train hard in the gym so that you build some muscle and like how you look once you've lost the body fat, by the way. And you'll be all good. So hopefully this was helpful, this 15-minute rant. I can do this literally all day because I'm very passionate about this. I don't do one-to-one coaching anymore, and I haven't done for quite a while, but I do still have gym programs and fat loss guides if you want to check out the description. The fat loss guide basically says all of what I've said in here, but in written form for you to keep referring back to, and covers just about how to do everything when it comes to tracking your calories, being objective about things. It covers everything I possibly could, because every time I make a resource for anything ever, I want it to be the best one out there. Right, see you in a bit.